Hello, I'm Melinda Moss, Superintendent of your Joplin School District, and I'm here today with Dr. Kerry Sachetta, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations, and we want to remind everyone of our district's bond election. The election was slated for April 7th, but due to the pandemic, it was postponed until June 2nd. And so we have realized that now, more than ever, due to this pandemic, we realize that it is so important to plan for the future for our children and our community. And Kerry, would you mind starting us off sharing some details of our bond election?
Well, as we know, it was moved, and it's important for us to begin to think about it again and to make sure that we re-educate the public in what we're here for and what it's about. It is a no tax increase bond issue to build a new school at Dover Hill, and then also to do some remodeling and then make an addition over at Kelsey Norman Elementary.
Okay, and last year there was a whole process began with community stakeholders, and remind us the makeup of that committee.
That committee was made up of people from all over the district, and we were very proud of the work of the committee. They had several meetings and from different school locations. We had city leaders, we had architects, we had city planners, we had parents, we had faculty members, a really good cross-section of the community that support our schools and wants to make sure that we're moving forward in the right direction. And they spent 5 or 6 different meetings at schools, and they really looked thoroughly at the schools, the conditions of the Columbian Elementary and West Central, and also at Kelsey Norman. And they also looked at other schools in the district as far as some of our newer schools, so that we could make some comparisons for equity, and that was very important. And so safety, security, equity, equitable learning spaces, those were all taken into consideration.
And I remember at one of those meetings in particular, when Dr. Langford, our finance director, he was presenting information that let them know that we could do these projects that were emerging as priorities without raising taxes, and do it in a fiscally responsible manner, because our district has adequate bonding capacity at this time.
It's true. And what occurred in 2007 when we passed the middle school bond, and then again after the tornado, it's allowed us to, over the years, as we've paid bonds off, allowed us to go ahead and review some of our projects that we could do to add on to make our experience for our students across the district better. And without raising taxes, within our capacity to raise more money through selling more bonds, we can do some of the things that we really need to do.
Very good. So let's talk now about some of the advantages of bringing together Columbia, West Central at the new site at Dover Hill, and also the new addition at existing Kelsey Norman.
I think the biggest advantage for Columbia and West Central is to really get the kids from those two neighborhoods in schools that are modern and up to date, that would give them opportunities that they don't have at those schools now. Those two schools have served us well for over 90 years, and we're real proud of what's happened in those schools. But over time, they're lagging behind when it comes to the classroom size, when it comes to the opportunities for kids to go to a classroom for specials like music or art and not be able to have a specialized room for that, or possibly to have more rooms for special education courses and things, or programs, I should say, for elementary students to adequately take care of their needs. And then also within the classrooms themselves, we know that the classrooms are very small because that's the way they built them then. Right. And as we build classrooms and have standards now, it's more important for kids to move around, to get involved in projects. I mean, when you look at schools all over the place now, you have bigger classrooms and they're made for flexibility. So that's a big key as well.
Right, and when we talk about safety issues, in the 1920s, when both Columbia and West Central were built, I don't think anyone had envisioned that 7th Street, which is actually like a 4-lane highway, that was probably a dirt lane at that time. And so thinking of traffic and how students are brought by cars today, buses, and the commingling of buses and car traffic as students are exiting, I remember that, as well as the structural issues and problems with the Columbia site, really emerged as safety issues for our kids.
They are, and there was only so much we can do at Columbia. We've done the best job we can with the property that we have to work with, and same thing with West Central. So this would allow us to take care of ingress and egress needs for buses, parent drop off and pick up. 90 years ago, a lot more kids walked to school than they do now, and because of safety and the way everybody is more conscious about their kids getting to school, many more parents drop their kids off where they ride the bus. So we want to make sure we take care of those needs at that new site. As well as when you talk about Kelsey Norman, the situation there is we've done a good job of taking care of the bus traffic and those kind of things, but we need more classroom space.
Right. There's severe overcrowding at Kelsey Norman. And when those schools were envisioned in the 20s, we didn't offer the special education services that are offered now. We weren't feeding students to the extent that we feed students now. So they've really had to cobble up and make do in those spaces.
Exactly, and both in the cafeteria, the actual cooking areas at both West Central and Columbia are very, very small, especially compared to the rest of our schools. So we need to make sure that we get the food service folks more space, as well as take care of the cafeteria space there.
Well, and this pandemic has shown us the importance of continuing that food service. And I think I heard as of today, we're up over 300,000 meals since the pandemic began.
We are very proud of what our food service staff has done, as well as our transportation staff, to help them get the meals out to the kids. And we're really serving more meals now than we would have if the kids were here. It's hard to believe, but it is, and they're doing it in less time.
Right, that's crucial service to our community. So as a wrap up, in a nutshell, it's about safety, it's about equity and learning spaces, and remaining fiscally responsible within our bonding capacity that we have now. So we have a moment in time to take care of this and solve these issues without raising taxes. And before the pandemic, Joplin schools, as well as the Joplin community as a whole, really had a lot of momentum going for it. Things were looking positive, we were growing, we were progressing. And what this pandemic has shown me is that now more than ever, it's important to keep looking toward and planning for the future. And our hope is that on June 2nd, our patrons turn out in large numbers and consider the issue before you to solve our district problems.
I hope so too.
Thank you for joining me.
Sure, certainly.